of the pod. We're excited to be with you today. Brad Mann came up with the topic today, and so he's going to be the only one talking today.
No. I didn't really come up with a topic.
Yeah, you did. You were like, this is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't know about it.
I am such a fan when you come up with the topics.
No.
Because I feel like automatically you're more in the zone, like right away. Because that did not, that was not in the zone. That's you. Also, I just want you to know our pastor, we were having a conversation with him yesterday, and he typically listens to us on the audio, but he decided to on the audio. I'm a super old person. Like, let's get on the Facebook. Anyways, he's listening to us on audio, and he decided to watch us on YouTube. And he tells us, I have basically some feedback for you.
And I was like, fire away, please.
This is for those of you who have listened for any period of time. And if this is your first time, we're glad you're here. Yeah. We will get to the topic, I promise. But there are a few people that we will unequivocally listen to whatever feedback, criticism, critique that you have, and he is one of them. And so I think both of us are just like, let's go. Let's go. And so then I was laughing about this in my head afterwards, because he's like, so I'm watching, and I fired off two things that could potentially bother him before he said. And he's like, no. I'm like, why do I do those kind of things? I'm preemptively telling you something you should be annoyed about. But now that he's pointed it out, now, mind you, this is something that has bothered us both.
I've come up with suggestions, but.
Okay. Now come up with the solution. Go ahead and take care of the problem. No, so he tells us that, but that light switch behind Brad's head.
Yeah.
I can't stop. Now, any of you who are watching on YouTube are also now going to become fixated on the light switch. The problem is this happened yesterday. So we just have not been able to implement a solution this quick without it looking
janky.
Real janky. Probably worse than the original. So now for those of you who are on YouTube, you can just stare at that light switch behind Brad's head just the whole time, I guess. And you're welcome for making that a you problem as well as it is for me now when I'm looking at you. So thank you, Pastor JT. We appreciate the feedback for sure.
Yeah.
But we both had kind of I was going to say eventful, but you kind of had some moments of quiet, and that's really what we're going to talk about today. So why don't you share about our episode topic today, my love?
Yeah. So I went into the woods.
Into the woods.
Yeah. I had a chance. I just took advantage of it. I had to go for work. I was going to have to go to the mountains anyway. And so I just let them know, and I took off early. And I took off Sunday afternoon after church. Got up to for us, El Paso is pretty unique in the sense that you can get within an hour and a half, you can be at 9,000 plus feet.
Yeah. Beautiful mountains. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's exactly what I did. I went up to the mountains. I had, it was just, by myself until Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
So yeah, I just wanted to I had read a book, Spiritual Disciplines. I say that and I'm like, is that exactly what it's called? Like I always
is called Spiritual Disciplines.
Anyway, Spiritual Disciplines by Dallas Willard. And I was talking to my buddy about this before I went, and he actually had heard about it too through another book. So I had never heard of all these different disciplines that you do spiritually. And he breaks them down into two categories, but one of them is solitude, silence and solitude. And he does break it down in the sense that you should do 3 days, but I was like, I'll be fine. I could do...
Not me. What can be done in 3, I can do in 2.
Well, also the other issue was we had things going on Saturday night, and I wasn't just going to take off Sunday morning. Might as well go to the church, so there was a couple little reasons why, but I was like, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And so I went up there and nobody was around at this camp area. Now it wasn't a campsite. So so people that go camping, you know how like you can go to actual campgrounds.
Yeah. There was no bathroom facilities where you were at.
No.
Brad just like, of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for those that are listening, like, you know what kind of camping it is if you say there's no bathroom facilities.
I mean, I took a lot of stuff because I was driving straight to the site, but I slept in a tent and
So what was the most difficult part of that?
To not be busy. I think that's what it was. So, I mean, you had asked me, because we have a Starlink, a little mini one, and you had asked me if that was a problem to have it up there. I liked having it there because you were driving, you were traveling too, so I can actually have some kind of communication the whole time I was there, just something in case, right? Mm-hmm. And so that wasn't a distraction. It was just being busy. So for those of you that haven't camped or haven't camped like this, I, found the area, set up camp, of course. But then the next thing was like cutting wood, like gathering wood, chopping wood, gathering as much wood as I can. And I was doing that too, because later in the week, there was going to be a bunch of us up there. And so it was just prepping that also. But I wanted to get a fire going. It wasn't very cold when I first got there. So but still it's camp, right? So I wanted to get all that prepped. And so you get all this stuff laid out, everything's set up. And then I was sitting by the fire and, I was sitting there for a little while. It's completely quiet other than, birds, nature, or whatever, right? Yeah. So I was sitting there for a little while and then I was just like, oh, I should probably get more wood. Or I should probably like go make sure, improve the inside of my tent or, whatever it is. I was just constantly trying not to be, I was wanting to be busy. And that was the hardest thing, was to just back off.
Were you wanting to be busy because you just felt the necessity of tasks to be done, or you just didn't really feel like sitting there with nothing almost felt like just so strange that you didn't want to do it?
No, I think it was tasks. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to say this, and then next time I do this, I'm going to be like, oh no, but I'm not afraid to be alone with my thoughts. Does that make sense? Because I think some people, that's a thing. They don't want to be alone with their thoughts. I'm not afraid to do that. I do get into like these deep thoughts that I have to try to like push out of my mind because there's no answers. Mm-hmm. And
why don't we stay married in heaven?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of them. No, but also just like the whole, how does it work? You die and then, just these weird things that pop in my head, and it bothers me because there's no answer, you just.
There's a bunch of theories, but
there's a bunch of theories. There's just no answers. So I'm not afraid to sit in my thoughts, but it was tasks, and because I can relax. You know that I'm fine with relaxing. I'm even fine with like, we don't need to do that right now. Mm-hmm. But I guess I'm wired because of work. When we get out into something like that, there's constantly improvement needed to be done, right? So is the, tarp on the tent, is it tight enough? It's
like you camping is like me in our house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you have trouble sleeping. It's nothing else. It's literally like you need to figure out how to shut this off up here.
Maybe I need 3 days of solitude in the woods. I don't think for me, solitude in the woods would work in the same way, because I think I would be constantly concerned about every little, like, I think I need like a cabin.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
this is how I wanted to do it.
Which I I think is amazing. I just know myself, like I could just see myself out there being like, well, this tent is clearly malfunctioning and not meant to be put up. So there we go. And then I just like give up on it, or, you know, something with it. Like you, when we go camping, you are definitely like my security in that, where it's like, I mean, this is your zone.
So I've never been alone like that. You know, I've been alone, you know, driving somewhere or whatever, but not like that. I can't think of a time where I've truly ever been alone like that and for that long, and without any other human contact. Like I'm trying to think. I think I did run to town. I did run to town at one point, which was like 30 minutes away, because I was low on like the little 1 pounder propane things. It was cold. And so I was mad about that because I didn't prep properly. But other than that, I was never around anyone. And so I've never been alone like that. So at night it was a little bit creepy, but I don't know how to explain it, because I wasn't where I was at. Yes, there's predator animals, but it's not like they're brown bears. They don't want to be around you. You know, there is mountain lions, but I've never, in the area I've never seen, not seen a mountain lion. It's hard to find them, but I've never seen their tracks. Yeah. Right. And so I wasn't like terribly concerned about that, but overall it was just kind of creepy going to, you know, as soon as the sun goes down, it gets real dark because there's no light pollution going on other than my fire. But it is dark. Like I can't see basically past the fire. Yeah. That's how dark it was. And so that was creepy, you know, because then your brain starts to like, oh, is there some wild bushman?
Yeah, this is why I'm not meant to be in the woods by myself. Like I for sure would just be thinking of impending doom. That was sure to come at me. Like this is why I don't like the ocean. Yeah. Because, you know, for sure underneath those waves is a shark just waiting to
I will say I thought, and your brother actually texted me today, and we were kind of texting back and forth, and he asked me how it went when I went out by myself. And I thought I was praying, and I thought I was going to have this, you know, this, I don't know if I call it intense or this, you know, pivotal moment in, you know, spiritually. And that's what I felt was going to happen. Right. That didn't happen. You know, and so immediately I thought to myself, I'm like, I did something wrong. You know, not morally or anything, but maybe I didn't.
This wasn't long enough. This wasn't.
It wasn't long enough. Should I have, you know, fasted? Should I have prayed more? You know, all those things. Like I immediately looked at myself because I was like, there has to be something, because I've read about this, and this is supposed to be like this, you know, you're going to have these moments and this intensity and
downloads from God.
Yeah. And really it didn't happen. What happened was trying to quiet my mind. Like that was that was hard. I think that was the hardest thing. And I try not to be an overthinker, you know, all those things, but trying to quiet my mind, that was ridiculously hard. So I feel I need to do this more. You know.
Do you think that doing that for a longer period of time is what is necessary to help implement that?
I think 3 full days. You know, I mean, they've written books about it, right? Yeah. So, no, I think 3 full days. And it was funny because when the team got there and we were all hanging out together, they were asking me, you know, because all of them knew I had gone up there early, and they were asking me about it. And I was like, man, it was super hard to quiet my mind down. But Tuesday, before they got there, about Tuesday afternoon, like all that mental noise started getting really quiet. And then guys started showing up. So then it was like, well, there's no more silence and solitude anymore, you know? And so I was telling them that, and one of the guys, I don't know what podcast it was, secular podcast, he was listening to it, and the guy was like, yeah, 3 days out in the woods or wherever, but he wasn't talking about it as a spiritual discipline. He was talking about it as like a technology cleanse or whatever, right? You know, where it's just like get away for 3 days, 3 full days. Your mind, like, you know, the noise starts to calm down. You start seeing things more clearly. All those things, you know.
Well, I think about how we are training our brains to basically operate in 15-second moments.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and even less, really. It's like anytime you're scrolling, anytime you're looking at, you know, these, you better capture my attention real fast.
Yeah.
Really, really fast. And just thinking about how difficult it is, speaking of myself, to just slow my mind down where I'm not thinking of anything else. And I know we've mentioned it on here before. I think this is one of my hardest struggles, is that my brain is, you know, kind of constantly firing. And so even in my time where I am in solitude, I still am feeling like that kind of 75 different things that are just kind of invading that space.
I mean, even when I do devotions in the morning, there's times where I'm doing it and I'm like, okay, I have this coming up. You know, my brain starts to, I think it happens to everyone, is, you know, I've talked to people and I've heard people joke about it, but, you know, like you're praying and all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, I have this meeting coming up, or, oh, I have this thing I have to do, or this weekend. And then you're like, wait a minute, I'm praying, and, you know, you get back to it. So that was even tough out there, because you know, when you camp like that, especially in a tent, really, as soon as it gets dark, you get tired, because there's nothing. I mean, I guess you could keep yourself awake, you know, open your phone and, you know, engage your mind again. But really, your body's getting back to this rhythm of, like, it's dark, it's time to go to bed, you know. And so I would wake up as soon as I would really start hearing animals start like moving about, you know. So early morning, you know, dawn, sun's not quite up yet. And I didn't sleep in. I can't. I have a hard time doing that anyway. So I didn't sleep in. So I would just get up immediately and, you know, go get the fire started. So there was already like things that, you know, needed to be done. And I mean, it was chilly in the morning, so I didn't want to go out and sit in my tent and do devotions, or go out and just sit there on a chair, you know, while it's cold. So get the fire started and, you know, get my jet boil going so I could have some coffee and drink lots of water, because I'm, you know, over 9,000 feet. So it's just constantly being dehydrated. You know, your body like expels everything when you're at that high. And I would start doing devotions, and I felt myself not rushing through them, but I felt myself like almost box checking through it, where it was like, okay, I'm doing this, like, because I have a couple devotions I'm going through. One's in the Old Testament, one's in the New Testament. So I was, you know, okay, Old Testament's done, switch to New Testament now, you know. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't have anywhere to go. Like, I don't have anything to do. You know, the only thing I wanted to do was I wanted to go on a hike every day, right? But I didn't have any other agenda. There was nothing. Right. And so
like, you could just be there for the whole, as long as you wanted.
I could have sat there around the fire all day, you know? And so that was hard to slow down my devotions and understanding that there's nowhere for me to go. Right. You know, I don't have to go meet someone. I don't have to do anything.
Don't have to get to work.
Yeah. I could stay right here and just be lazy all day.
But and it's not lazy, right? No, like, you were trying to soak in the presence of God. And I do think that, you know, as you're trying to develop in your spiritual disciplines and in your life, right? We all want to grow. I think it is really easy to start doing that box check aspect of things, even when we are spending time with God, even if you're doing that every day, right? So I think initially it's like God, you know, impressing on us or asking us like, hey, I want you to spend time with me. I want you to spend time with me every day. I want you to spend time with me. Like, I want to be in communication with you all the time, right? Like, that's really what God's desire is, right? Is that we're just in communication with him. But I think it's really easy to, okay, we take a step, right? And if you are trying to grow okay, now I'm daily spending time with God, how to not go to the box checking that I think can become really easy in that time. I definitely feel that when you're talking about just feeling that, okay, like, all right, check. Okay, now I'm done. And I think it does just shut down communication, like that two-way communication that you want. Because at that point it's like my agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's almost what I fell into this. I was expecting all these things and really, a few things, my mind, there was a few things that like got me, right? But overall, there wasn't this like, I didn't come off the mountain, with this, I don't know, epiphany of, I don't feel like I did.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting. I mean, I think you could do it in a cabin. I need to be away from everything, because there's always some kind of distraction. Even when I've traveled, being in a hotel room, I usually just turn the TV on. I'm not even watching it. I just want some kind of noise in the background,
right.
So, even that, in that sense, it would be distracting to me, but getting out, and some people can do that just fine. But for me, I needed to get out and away from everyone. I mean, even my hikes, I didn't take trails because I didn't want to run into anyone else. And I think that's where I was just taking in the beauty of nature. And I think that's a lot of what like spoke to me, I guess, how in the Bible it talks about like all creation, cries out to God. Yeah. And that did hit me during this time, even though it's hit me before, but really when I thought about it, and I'm like, it's constant praise, right? Because there's a scripture where it talks about the rocks will cry out, in place of people, right? But that's not what this is. This is just constant. It's the birds chirping, the trees, even the trees themselves. If you're out in the wilderness and it's silent, you can hear just these constant little creaks and, even when the wind's coming through, the wind of itself, just, but the wind going through the trees kind of creaking, even kind of like I don't know, this might be a little bit cliche or sappy or whatever, but even noticing how, and everyone can notice this, but how trees grow like towards the sun, and that just kind of hit me too while I was out there, where I was like, man, they're just like stretching out to the heavens, so there was some moments like that where, but I thought there was going to be like this, like, like the split in the sky, the sun, and all that. And there's nothing.
But don't you think that is kind of part of it too, where even releasing our expectation of what it's supposed to be? Like, I know, and we mentioned last week, one of the big things you were hoping to do is find a shed.
Oh yeah.
An elk shed out in the mountains. Yeah. And that didn't happen.
No. And I was a little frustrated about it because I was praying about it, and I'm, you pray about everything, right? And I was praying about it, and it's that time of year, and man, I mean, I got to see some awesome things. I saw elk every single time I went on a hike.
Yeah.
Every single time. And sometimes I was able to get,
which is the coolest thing.
Yeah. It's amazing. And sometimes I was able to get a lot closer than you normally would, because the way the wind was blowing and all those things. I found beds, right? Like not mattresses, but where the elk sleep, right? I found where they bed down. I found all those things. Even at one point while I was hiking, I smelled like this pungent smell. And I would like to say I'm a huge hunter. Like I've always thought that would be, I've gone hunting. I've never gotten anything, but I'd like to say I'm an awesome hunter. And so then as soon as I smelled that, all these things keyed off. But to me, I was like, man, I wonder if that's elk. And sure enough, it was. I just kind of followed the smell, and then I saw more elk. So I saw, wildlife and all that, but I was praying like, Lord, like, let me get an elk shed. That would be the coolest thing. 'Cause every year we go up there for work. And every year it's around the same time. And it might be a little bit late because, a lot of people do that. And because people make money on that stuff. And so I'm like, man, I've been coming up here for how many years? Like, it'd be so cool to find that. And nothing, like, at all. So I did get frustrated. But then during it, it's, it's this whole God speaking to me, right? Because I was on my hikes, I was praying and doing all these things, but also it was just this, that's not why you're here. Like, you came up for silence and solitude, and that's exactly what you're getting. Like, it's exactly what you came up here for. And also, I'm probably not I don't know where all the elk shed are, right? I'm not I'll tell you, one of the guys showed up and he, we were kind of talking about it and he's like, oh man, I'm going to go check, X mountain. Like, I think that's where I'll find one. And he went and sends me a picture. He found a set. And I was like, this is so ridiculous. Like, he's just like, oh, I think they're going to be over here, and drives right over. I'm not like that. I mean, I found everything else for the elk.
Found some fossils too.
Yeah. And that was another cool thing. Like, everyone debates, the debates of creation and the debates of like the flood, even though the flood is historically, like, it's in a ton of different stories. It's not just, it's a historic event, but it's in a ton of different documents, not just biblical documents, right? That there was this huge flood and all these things. And so even that, I'm at the top of this mountain, again, 9,000 plus feet on these different peaks. And I was walking back, frustrated. I was walking back and I'm looking down and I see this rock and it has a seashell fossil, like where you could see where the seashell was. And so I picked that one up and then I look right next to it. And then there's this other rock that looks like it has the seashell in it. It doesn't, or maybe it does. I don't know how fossils work. Not a scientist, but anyway, I picked those two things up because I was like, man, this is amazing. And this is on the top of a mountain. Like, this was underwater.
There's no
at some
sea.
point. Yeah. This was, and so I did get to see a lot of,
which I just feel like is like God talking to you.
It is.
For sure.
Yeah. I wanted something else. And that's what, that's what I had to keep fighting because I knew I was wrong. For me, I knew that was not the answer. Like, the answer was clear your mind, calm down, pray, and I wanted to go on the hikes because the other thing, I was challenging myself. So, a lot of times when I'm working out, I feel God speak to me. It's kind of these times where I'm, crucifying my flesh, quote unquote, right? But so I wanted to go on these hikes, off trail hikes, to make them a little harder. And that's what I did. And so, during it, I was, hearing from God. It just wasn't what I wanted, right? I was like, well, I should find some elk sheds. Like, that'd be amazing. Praise the Lord, and I found all these other things and saw all these other amazing things, and just sitting there in nature and watching the trees, like that was part of it, but it was a big calming down, but I didn't get it. I don't remember when I texted you, but I think it was like Thursday that I got another long hike. So I'm already out of my silence and really my solitude. I went on every hike by myself, but really I was around a bunch of people this time. But when I was on that hike, and that's where I did I stopped. So I would take my journal with me. I would stop and find a spot, like inspirational spot to journal from or whatever. And so I'd find a spot, sit down and pray, and then I would journal. And I did that on Thursday, and I felt God, just telling me, like, you need to let go of all your wants, and so I still really, really started thinking about that because I am so thankful for everything we have. And I know we're blessed, and so I start most of my journal entries, or most of my journaling is just being thankful, because I really am. I'm just so thankful of health, of our kids, of, you know, all the things, right? It's just like so many to count, right? It's too many. And so yeah, I sat there and I just felt this, you need to let go of your wants. And I thought that was great. And it's, you know, as my son was like, oh man, that's deep. You know? And then he texted me, he's like, I'm so proud of you that you went out there. I was like, I'm supposed to be saying those things to you. Like, super weird that you just texted me that. And he's laughing about it. And then he was like, you know, God doesn't show up the same way for everyone. He's 100% right, but he was giving me advice on that. Because I told him, I was like, I didn't feel like I got this like huge thing. And he's like, well, God shows up different for everyone. And and this is the key. And I've known this, but you forget. But it's just consistency, you know, because there are these moments, I'm a testimony to it, that you have where God, you know, meets you. I mean, legitimately meets you.
Stops
right?
you in holy tracks.
Yeah. You have those moments, and he could do that all the time, whenever, right? And of course, but it's like, for me, that's happened, you know, once 100%, right? And I look back and I think that there's other times where God's, you know, met me 100, you know, of course, but, you know, it is this consistency of this relationship, you know, it's a relationship. And so I don't expect, like, my human relationships, you know, when someone sees me, that they're going to, like, you know, I don't know. Like,
I'm like, what do you expect from me, babe?
From you, I don't expect like this grand, huge thing every time I see somebody. And I did go to the woods expectant, you know, but it was my own definition of it, right? And that's where I think that God was like, you need to let go of that, you know, because he's always there. It's not that he wasn't there with me. It wasn't that, you know, that I wasn't praying and talking, you know, those things happen. Like, he's always there, but it also wasn't this,
it's like
what I thought it was going to
be. Right. I can't remember who it was. I want to say Elijah, but where he's, you know, God's talking with him, and it's like, okay, well, it's not the whirlwind, it's not the fire, right? It's the whisper. And, you know, you do have to quiet yourself in order to do that. But it kind of struck me when you were talking about that, in the more familiar you are in a relationship, the less that you do have this expectation of that grand, you know, greeting or whatever, because there's the expectation that is inherent that we have relationship with each other. Yeah. Right. And so it is kind of interesting, because if I see somebody and I haven't seen them in a year, I'm obviously, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. Yeah. Right. But, you know, our greeting is much more mild, and but the affection, the intimacy is much greater, because you're my husband and I'm your wife. And I think it's the same way with the Lord, you know, like the longer that you walk with him, right, is like, we don't have to have this, like, I haven't seen you in a year, like, woo, where it's more of this like deep intimacy that says, like, I know you're there, and I know that you're walking with me, and I know that you have my future. There is much more of that solidified relationship versus being drawn into, I need to have this extreme moment. I need to have this, you know, unequivocal download in this period of time. I know you're there. Yeah. Like, and that's what you got to experience, I think, in so many little glimpses all throughout. I just think it's super powerful. And I also think it's just really interesting how hard it is.
Oh, it's so hard. I told you there was, I guess it was, so Monday. Yeah, it had to have been Monday. At some point on Monday, I had come back from my hike, you know, and it's still, I don't know, it's in the afternoon, right? Not quite evening. And I was just sitting there, and the fire wasn't really going. It was beautiful, beautiful weather. The fire wasn't really going. And so I'm just kind of sitting there over by the fire, and just kind of there, right? No phone scrolling, nothing, just there, thinking, quiet, or trying not to think, just, looking around, and I was like, man, what? Like, oh, let me go get some more wood. Oh, let me, again, like trying to fill this time before dinner, trying to fill this time before I had to do something, or, quote unquote, had to do something. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go to my tent and I'm just gonna lay down, like open the kind of the venting flaps or whatever, because it was windy and it was a nice breeze, nice day. So I was just like, I'm just gonna go and lay down in my tent. And so I did that, and because of who I am, I did set like my alarm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why I did, because what am I gonna miss? Dinner? I look at that, I'm like, man, I don't know why. I think subconsciously I did it because I'm like, why would I just waste time laying here when I'm out doing this, right? Like, I felt like I had to actively be doing something. It didn't have to be physical, just like, oh, now I need to actively be praying. I need to actively be, seeking God, which of course, but I was trying to fill my time, so it wasn't just, oh, I need to go get some wood, or, oh, let me make some coffee. Let me, get my stuff ready for tonight. Let me do whatever.
Right.
But it was also like this other side of it where it's like, no, I should be praying right now because I'm not doing anything physical. So now I should be, instead of just sitting there and just being. And so that's what I did. I laid down, but of course I, set my alarm, and I didn't really fall asleep. It's kind of like one of those where you just quiet. I had my eyes closed, but you just quiet everything down. I could hear all the animals going, and just really trying not to think about anything, just kind of just being there. And that was super hard because I kept thinking like, okay, I need to get up. I need to go, like, maybe I'll go on another hike. Maybe I'll do this. I felt like there's just agenda. And so that's why I think 3 days is really key. And I don't know when I'll get to do it again, when opportunity arises, but I think that 3 days is key, because that middle day, I was just fighting. I was fighting overthinking. I was fighting, I'm not thinking. So it was like these, two things. I'm fighting all these things and trying to figure out, like, well, what do I need to do? What should I be doing? Should I be reading my Bible right now? Should I be it was, so if, I joke, and I don't know if I really have this, attention deficit, or I have no idea. It's just something we kind of joke about. And some people say like that in that realm, they're like, oh, you 100% have it, right? But in my mind, like, it can get super chaotic in the sense of, like, imagine like a bunch of flashcards, and you're just like flipping through them, and you're seeing all these different things. And it's just, I guess it could be like scrolling on your phone, where you're just like constantly scrolling, and you're just like seeing these little clips of little things, and you just keep going. Like that happens in my mind, where I have to, figure out what to focus on, or try to, like, not have that go on. And so even in that silence part, that was almost exaggerated, because there was nothing for me to occupy my mind with, and so it wasn't.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. And so it's weird. And I it's kind of like I told your brother, I was like, I want to do it more because I'm trying to be more disciplined in all these areas, right? You want to get stronger, you get disciplined in the gym, right? You want to, lose weight, you want to gain weight, whatever, you get disciplined. You're going to
gain intelligence. You're going to go take a class. You're going to read a book. You're going to
all these things you need to do. And this is just, when I read that book, this was something that stood out to me, where it was like, man, how many times we read, I didn't look this up, but how many times do we read in the Bible where Jesus removes himself and, goes into solitude?
And that was Jesus.
And that was Jesus. Like, how many times did he do that, And how many times did he do it that it wasn't written about?
Yeah.
Like how, all these things. And it's like, man, the importance of just that, where it's like, man, I don't, one of my biggest things is I don't want to be away from you guys if I'm not with work, right? You know, well, I don't want to be away from you guys at all, but if there's a reason I have to be, then okay. But if it's just me, like, oh, I want to go to the woods, like, to me, it's weird because I'm like, well, no, I'm with you guys. Like, I'm with family. Like, that's what I should be doing. And it was great being gone, but yeah, I want to do it more so I can have that discipline in the sense of like, okay, you know, I'm okay being alone, and I'm an introvert, you know, and but not having access to anyone. Like, that was weird, you know, it was all super weird. Like, that's really what it comes down to. It was my first time doing it, and I think it was weird, and it was amazing, but I think it was weird, you know?
So for someone listening, and if they're like me, and the idea of solitude in the woods is not necessarily accessible, but they want to begin to practice that aspect of solitude on just, you know, even minor scale, just to begin the practice, right? Do you have any suggestions as to what that would look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can find a you know, place in your house. Maybe it's your closet. It's just, for me, it's hard to do those things because if I go somewhere in the house and I sit down, then I'm going to be like, oh, like, I have this thing I should be doing. Or, you know, and so if you don't have that issue, or maybe do all the things before, you know, I don't know, but
yeah, I think that's the part of it though, is like knowing that we have to do that, even if there is the 75 pressing things.
Well, and are they that pressing? Right? You know, that's kind of what I was learning out there too. There are things that have to be done. Yeah. Right? You can't just live your life not doing the things. I mean, you know,
we have to
you're supposed to steward well, right? And all the things around you, God's given to you. He's giving you the talents. He's giving you the things that are around you, right? So you need to steward those well. So this isn't about just, oh, I need to spend 3 hours alone so my kids are running amok and crying and, you know, I'm just ignoring life. No, like, you need to do those things right. But yeah, I mean, I would, or even if it's just an hour of silence, like turning, you know, leaving your phone in the other room.
Dang, you went right straight to an hour.
Yeah, taking your watch off. I mean, because, okay, 10 minutes, you know, 10 minutes goes by fast.
But if you're starting, I would argue, if you're like, okay, I'm going to start this practice of solitude, that it is a build up. I mean, I think even 10 minutes can be intense to start with. Brad's hardcore with this stuff.
I think you would, I think you'd be surprised how fast 10 minutes can go.
Yeah, it can be surprisingly fast and surprisingly slow. But I just think, as far as beginning to train your mind to rest, to not, like you mentioned, right? What your brain is doing is like still going through the scroll, right? And it takes practice in order to, you know, basically reprogram what your brain is automatically wanting to do. And so beginning in that, you know, those bite-sized chunks in order to get to the place that, you know, you're not just sitting there for an hour contemplating all the tasks that you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess 10 minutes. I just, you know, it's kind of like with what I did. I'm not strong like that by any means. It was just like, okay, this book talked about science of solitude, so I need to go do it. You know, I was longing for that. Like, as I read it, I was like, man, that sounds amazing to me. I think that's it's not an easy one. There's probably easier, quote unquote, disciplines on that list, you know, that you can knock out or whatever, or start to build up. It wasn't an easy one, but even in that sense, I was like, okay, well, yeah, he said 3 days, but I'm going to be all about, like, you know, I'm going to be away from everything. And in reality, you know, Tuesday late morning, I'm sitting there looking at the fire, and all of a sudden, like, my mental noise is low, not gone, but it is low. And immediately I was like, oh, great. Like the dudes will be here. Not that I didn't want them there, but you know, they're going to be here in a couple hours.
Right.
Like, okay, now I see, you know? And so, yeah, maybe 10 minutes. I mean, during, maybe it's even just, you know, I told you I didn't even wear my watch while I was out there, not because I didn't need to track time, but because I didn't want the distraction of if I got a text message, you know, because I wear an Apple Watch. And now I'm like, man, I don't even know if I want the watch anymore. You know, other than I love it that it buzzes me to wake up in the morning, so there's not this loud, obnoxious, you know,
I
alarm.
love that too.
But I don't even know if I necessarily want it, you know? And that was something I think that even through this that kind of helped me, you know, disconnecting, was even understanding that the text message that came through can wait.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to fire back right away. I don't have to, you know, if I don't answer it,
it's okay.
Yeah. And if it's an emergency, they can call me, you know, and it's so even to that realization of, man, I've become so not dependent, but become so obligated to answer my phone, to answer my text, to
ding, ding.
And also where, you know, when I was there, I knew where my phone was because clearly I was the only one out there, but in the sense of, I don't need it on me.
That's good.
You know, because it's hard. It
is.
And I'm not saying this to be judgy about anyone or that it's even bad. You know, I don't necessarily think that it's bad. I don't think that it's great, but I don't think it's a bad thing. But, you know, always, even at the house, like your phone's in your pocket. Or I get up to go the other room. A lot of times I would have found myself like, oh, let me grab my phone. And I'm not even like, let me grab my phone and go sneak over here and do this. It was just, I grab my phone because I'm used to having my phone with me. So even at the house where it's like, our house isn't that big. There's no place that if the phone starts ringing, I can't get to it before someone hangs up. And again, if it's a text message, they can wait. I've waited on text messages.
If it's our daughter, she'll just do the find my iPhone. Phone. Doesn't matter. Like you need to answer now.
And then you'll know. Oh,
doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that I've kind of learned, you know, that I feel like I need to disconnect a little more. Not, you know, I'm not like a hermit. You know, I don't want to like get rid of all technology. I think it's great. It's a really good tool.
No, but I think it can go really quickly from a tool to controlling us.
Yeah.
And I think if we all really take a good hard look, in a lot of ways it does. You know, the way we process information, the way we communicate, the way our daily lives are centered around with our phones always being with us. Yeah. And how much it's getting more and more difficult to disconnect.
It was freeing, you know, like I didn't have to look at my phone. I didn't have to, you know, there was things I didn't have to do anymore. Right. And so it was freeing, but it wasn't even that I didn't have to do it. It was the understanding that there's a time that I can do it, and it's not, I dictate. The time. I think that's where it came to.
It's not pressing on like an immediate response.
I think that's where it came to. Like I dictate the time that I want to get on my phone, that I can get on my phone. I dictate the time I can get on my tablet. I dictate it. I decide when, not this urgency, because when I got there Sunday, there was times, even throughout the whole time, there was times where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, well, let me get my phone and check out whatever. Right. And I was like, why? Just to occupy my mind where I didn't need it to be occupied, you know, just to distract myself from being alone, or, you know, just different things like that. And I mean,
I feel like it's gotten so bad, that aspect of our mind having to constantly, you know, basically be entertained in a certain way is like, you know, most of the time in conversations, you have your phone right there, even if you're face to face with somebody, you go on a date with your spouse, there's still that level of, you know, communicating something even with your spouse through the phone. I mean, Yeah, I think that practice of solitude, of that urgency, I think that it is a spiritual discipline, and there's a reason why God calls us to it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why God calls us to Sabbath and solitude. And I think it is the healthiest thing for us spiritually, physically, mentally.
I feel the next time I do it, as funny as this would sound, I feel that I want some kind of structure in the sense of like even letting you know, hey, like you'll have you can
check
call
in
me.
at blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can call me. You can text me whenever, but you can call me. But this is the time. This is the window that I'll check in, or however you want to call it. Like, yeah. This is the time where, you know, I'll call you and talk to you, you know, kind of setting off this.
No, I think that's super helpful.
When I went hiking, I took my phone with me mainly because, I mean, it'd be a little hard to get lost. I know that sounds weird, but I've been in that area a lot. It would be a little hard to get lost in that area. You just pick a way and go, and you're going to end up hitting a road at some point, and then you could figure out where you're at. But
so easy, guys. Don't worry about it. Like, not even a problem for anyone.
But I took it, you know, because of something like that, where, and then also emergency, because at a certain altitude, like I'd be able to get out on a call if I needed to or whatever. So it was good to have that with me, but
it's also something you could easily completely silence while you were doing that.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, where you're not, you know, even worried about it unless there was an emergency.
No, for sure. And so, you know, but there was this freeing of, I don't need it. I can go do whatever and it's fine, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's powerful. So challenge for this week?
I guess find 10 minutes of silence and solitude.
I like how, as Brad's saying that, he is like, I guess I'll go down to my wife's level and we'll start with 10 minutes. But really, I want to say an hour. But I'll give it to you. 10 minutes. That's where we'll start. Like, make it accessible. Yeah. I'm thinking of the mom with the toddlers. You know, like there's just seasons of life where, man, even those 10 minutes feels.
I mean, I think that there's probably seasons of life where you don't know if you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, but. Yeah.
So in those seasons, I think even when you're just like, okay, I'm here and I have 1 minute, like I could choose my phone to check out, or I can choose just to like, I'm going to just sit here for a second and just close my eyes and go to Jesus. Like those are things you have to do.
I mean, and I don't know if you can I think you could do solitude a little bit at home, but I don't know if you could do silence. I don't know, or if you define silence differently and it's just not taking the noise of your phone or the TV or, you know, whatever, you know, however you can define it. But for me, I needed to be.
Yeah. You need to remove all of those things. Yeah. And I think that is what you see the practice of Jesus doing, right? Is he would, and it was such a regular practice that when he removed himself, like that was, to me, it seems like when you're reading the Bible, it seemed like that was almost the expectation. Like they were going to go do these things and then Jesus withdrew.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, it's this, think about it even on like a relationship level with, you know, you and your kid, right? I mean, he was running back to talk with God.
Home.
Yeah. And so it's like, man, like, you know, that's what you want, right? Like I can spend all day with one of my boys and my daughter, you know, whatever it is, I could spend all day with them and it's okay, you know, but we can be alone and just kind of be. And
that's true.
And
I kind of never have thought about that Jesus was just going home.
Yeah. He was literally going to his
dad, like
talking to his dad, right? Just talking to God, like, hey, you know.
Yeah. Like that's his father.
Yeah.
Like,
and so it was
communing
just this,
with him.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I just think it's huge. So yeah, I'd say pick 10 minutes, but I think you'll be shocked how fast 10 minutes can go by. I really do.
Okay, well, let us know if you are shocked by how fast 10 minutes or how slow 10 minutes can go. Yeah. We want to hear from you either way. All right, you guys have a good week.